Here we go. All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to another Monday, which means the possibility, no guarantee, of some painting, but we're going to do some painting today. So, we are all done with the Spartans, and that means that we move to one of the many other things that are now waiting. And in this case, we're going to start, well, I've started, we're going to continue work on the SHATTERPOINT models. So this is actually an interesting thing. So before we really get into this, I'll show you some examples of stuff that I have already got done. But the interesting thing about this lot was that I bought this off of Marketplace, and it was basically the starter box, so the whole SHATTERPOINT core set. I actually unmuted myself there, I forgot. So it was basically the whole SHATTERPOINT core set minus 1 unit of droids, but I have the base. And I have a resin printer, so I could print some replacements to stick on that base, so it's not the end of the world. And some of the terrain was missing. So like the little top part of this little piece, I'm missing some of the ramps. I'm missing a couple pieces. But it did come with all the other miniatures. It came with the box of the Night Sisters, so Talzin and Savage, and the 2 Night Sisters. And then this box right here, which I don't really have any intention of doing anything with, and this, from what I can tell, is still all brand new in the box. So something to think about. Maybe we give this away for Christmas. I don't know. Talked about doing giveaways. Didn't exactly plan on doing, a $50 SHATTERPOINT box giveaway, but I don't know if I'm going to use this, so I'll keep that open, and maybe we could do that at some point. But that being said, it was, the core set, which was like $130, and then 2 of those expansion boxes, so it was like $230 worth of stuff, and I paid $60 for it. So it comes with some issues I'll explain in just a second, but for the most part, which these guys aren't done. Obviously this base looks terrible. There's kind of a workshopping there. I still need to clear coat these guys, paint the base rims. I think I'm gonna go back and do some light work on some of this stuff. And I'm trying to decide if I want to just bypass the sculpted part and base these guys the same way that I did the Spartans, and do the texture paste, bone white through the airbrush, and then pallid bone over top of that to get a better effect, because I don't know, so far I am not in love with these sculpted bases. They're just not doing it for me. But I do think all in all, they're looking decent. I don't know if it's the sculpted bases or what that's really throwing me off, as far as like not really liking the way that they're looking. Something looks weird about them, and I can't quite put my finger on it. I don't know if this is how this dude was supposed to come, because he looks like they glued his head on like so sideways, which they didn't paint any of this, so they just glued it together. And then I soaked a bunch of stuff forever to break it apart, to separate it like from bases and stuff, just to make it a little easier to work with. But I wasn't going to do that with all of them, because it's quite a bit of models. So I have fixed them up. I spent a lot of time going through with a knife, scratching away super glue, because it looks like they They had a time with the super glue, it looks like. Like, this guy's whole arm was almost like just one block, so I kind of had to like carve out to find that little elbow pad, which it's still not all that obvious. Kind of stuff like this. You know, some of this stuff, I couldn't really even see it until, you know, it gets zenithal. Then it really kind of brought out some of that, but I just kind of hit the big chunks. Like we're gonna have a little bit of that there. Some of them were okay, but man, some of these models, like the neck joints on these battle droids, were really gummed up. So I had to do a little bit of time trying to clean them up a little bit, and they're okay. They definitely still have a little bit of mileage on them, it would seem. But for $60, all things considered, I'll take it. I was pretty happy with this Ventress, I thought, but again, there's just some, I don't know if it's just the plainness of the base or what exactly, but something is just not tickling my fancy. But today, anyways, we are going to try to get Anakin done for the most part. Which I've also just thrown some rough paint onto some of the crates, which these guys were also really rough. I basically had to recarve all the corners to get rid of all the super glue that they kind of got all over everything. There was like cardboard and stuff glued to these. I don't know what happened when these people were putting together this stuff, but it got rough. And thankfully I was able to get it mostly cleaned up, and then I threw just a quick, you know, kind of scheme on the terrain pieces, and I'm not in love with it, to be honest, but I don't know if I care enough to go back and redo those handful of terrain pieces, or just wait until I feel like it, or use different terrain or whatever. But the miniatures have been pretty interesting so far. I've been in a little bit of a rut as far as painting, so I'm kind of falling back into that, like, paint to get something done. I did do a little bit of, I don't know, I was a little bit more whatever with Rex, just because I like Rex. So like trying to do this line work around the edges kind of cleanly as I could, or doing a little bit of a patch highlighting on each of the pauldron panels. So I don't know, but it's not helping. I was happy with this sash because it was such a weird color in all the pictures. That sash was, I want to say it was Murder Scene speed paint, and then a leather, I think it was this beastly brown. It might have been the leather brown, like almost dry brushed over the top of it, just real lightly kind of dragged over the top to hit all that pattern. But I was pretty happy with that, how that came out. But I don't know, I'm not really in love with the final products that I've gotten on any of these, even the Rex, which I was happy with how clean he came out. But again, I don't know if it's the bases or what, if I just need to, I want to keep the sculpted bases because they come with them, but it's almost like they need like some sort of third dimension to the base, something about them just being flat. I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna get past these guys. I'm setting them aside. Stop talking about them, because clearly I have my issues with them. Point being in all of that was that, my God, they were messy, and I spent a lot of time cleaning them up, and there's still super glue problems on these guys, and it just is what it is. Also, I don't take the time, and there's some of the more obvious ones that I've seen, mold lines on these. I cleaned ones like he had one like along the top of his head. I cleaned that off, but for the most part, I don't really bother, just because. But I did a little tiny bit of testing on my guy, which I need to paint him. I think I'm gonna go with more of a movie scheme, so black, brown kind of vibe. But I am going to go with a little tiny hint of Clone Wars, I think, for the under, like the sleeve robe and the under robe. And I'm going to use this dusk red. It's kind of like a reddish brown. Gives just a little hint of that kind of purpley tone from the show. And I think I'm going to do that for the under stuff. And I think I'm still debating, and because it's kind of freestanding, I'll wait toward closer to the end to really decide. Going with like a dark brown for the boots or a black. Looking at movie pictures, it's definitely black, I think. And if it is brown, it definitely doesn't read brown. So I'm not really sure. But I'm thinking Fire Drake for the leg, for the little bit of pants that you can see. I'm also going through a bit of a brush dilemma, because it's like I'm getting back to a point of not really liking any of the brushes that I'm using. Because the brushes that I was using had seen their day, and these are just cheap brushes, and I already had like a new pack on standby. And I'm pretty sure it was this 3.0 round brush that I had been using for like everything. But it seems awful large now. And I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know. So yeah. I'm going through it, it would seem. 'Cause I'm having brush problems. But I think for the most part, this guy is just going to be speed paint. I will say you cannot really tell where the boot ends and the pants begin. It is hard to tell. It is just kind of crazy. Like, these Shatterpoint models have seam lines all over them. Again, I'm not painting for like competition, and I don't necessarily care about them too much. I know that really irks some people, and they're easy enough to get rid of, but goodness, there seems to be a lot of them. It's hard to get to. Yeah, it should be a good dark brown. This Fire Drake is still easily my favorite of the brown. Well, I would say it just kind of got inducted into the brown family, because for the longest time I didn't know it was brown at all based on the bottle, but it's got a good color, and it's actually feels like a rich kind of brown while not being like super dark, I guess. I don't know. I'm just rambling. Also think Thursday. Thinking about doing mainly just because we have the space now to do Legion Special Operations Thursday. I've still only played that once with another person, and once when we did the stream on Halloween. So I think there's like a downed vehicle mode or something that we might try. Also, this dark spot from airbrushing is bugging me in a visual perspective because it looks like a shadow, and it isn't. It's literally just dark spot on my mat. But so I think I actually want to tackle this dusk red to get an idea of how it's going to look, and we're going to have a weird spot where they got super glue all over stuff, but that is okay. Dusk red. I don't know if I've ever used this color for anything, but we're going to use it today. Not with that brush. Losing my mind. I think I am losing my mind. Where did I just put the brush that I was just using? Okay, I flipped it upside down. Weird. My gosh. Also, to be fair, I only slept for like 2 or 3 hours. So I'm a little out of it. Like doing stuff at work, trying to keep track of what I'm doing, and it's failing on that front. Big time. So issues. Trying to get these brushes to actually pick up stuff sometimes. Dang, super glue spot. Also, just have like random, like Nordic kind of non-copyright stuff on in the background. Partially because I am listening for things to potentially use down the road. But if it is annoying anybody, just let me know. I will change it to something else. No, it's not exactly the most fitting thing. overzealous with that. Yeah, I'm like 97.5% sure this is the brush that I was enjoying using, but it is not bringing the same satisfaction that it was, I'll tell you that much. Really hard to make out. I don't know what I'm seeing. I actually want to check. I need to check a reference to make sure I'm looking at the right thing. Yeah. Oh. Okay, yeah, so that's all the same color. Because in his under his arm, there's like a it almost looks like an armhole. But then it looks like, from what I remember, that there's just the draping front robes and back robes. I was just confused. I just wanted to make sure, and it looks like we're on track. So, go ahead and tackle the V on the back. And this color is my sprinkle of Clone Wars color. It's a little bit of reddish, purplish, like brown. It's a weird color, but almost perfect for this. Super concerned with getting this color on where the black's gonna go. If it gets a little wild, it should be okay. Just want to try to minimize it. This is gonna be a pain to get to. There's also there was a big super glue wound on the neck of this guy as well. So my lines here are even more blurred. Literally. Rest of that is neck. Work. Also, my little reference caps on these speed paints might be good in theory, but it's almost like they're too small to get an accurate representation of what the color actually is. So, I don't guess there's any full replacement for that idea. I'm not enjoying painting with this brush. This brush. So this speed paint feels a little thicker almost than some of the other colors. because the consistencies of this paint do seem to vary. I'm gonna have to look up what color this glove needs to be, because top of my head, I don't know. Not put that on very well. It's trying to obscure some of those rough spots with a little bit of extra heavy application. Okay, do just the one arm, and I think that'll be it for this color. And the Clone Wars, his boots are definitely brown, aren't they? I don't know. We'll see where we're leaning with the colors after we get the black on the robe. Because I'm not opposed to either. I go a little heavier on this sleeve. And they really blurred the lines here between sleeve and boot and glove and all that stuff. That. Also, might be blocking the camera but with my noggin. I apologize, I am more blind than I should be. That's everything. We'll see once it dries. I get lost in the reflection of the paint most of the time, it would seem. Okay. Now, the main spot that I'm concerned with speed paint on this, for whatever reason, are these robes, just because they Some of them look rather flat, but we're obviously not really gonna know till we get it on there. So let's just go for it. I do like the almost like maroonish, purplish, brown, like black weird color that people do on this, kind of to mimic that like animated leathery color. I don't think I would have a whole lot of success doing that, so I'm not gonna do that. Now, doing stuff like that is partially why I do want to get a Fanatic paint set, so I have a broader range of stuff to work with, because I'm not that great at mixing colors. This, hell, maybe it was a 5.0 brush that I was using before. Just seems awful small. What else we got? I need that happy middle ground of it's got a little bit of a body to it. Don't really use this brush for much anything. Maybe I was using it for wash. I don't remember. Yeah, we could try it. Maybe it's got a little more. Yeah, I don't know. Let's give it a go. Try not, just because of the way these wrinkles lay, try not to flip him for prolonged periods if I can help it. Like, it might work a little bit to my advantage because this is supposed to be leather, so the lighting on it would be a little strange, but I feel like the paint is not gonna be my friend as far as how it's gonna settle. Not super concerned with underneath that, but we'll get it anyways. I'm trying to get this on in one kind of big heavy coat just so it's a little more uniform. I just have to be mindful of the pulling, which I don't really gonna be an issue, to be honest. We'll say I'll see people paint stuff with speed paints, but then they clearly do like some dry brushing or something afterwards, and the result doesn't really look like speed paints, or contrast paint, or what have you. But I feel like just a simple dry brush over a speed paint doesn't really give the effect that they're going for. So I don't know if I'm missing something. But this brush is weird. It's got a weird little hook on it. I feel like this brush is gonna be a weird mixed bag for painting over this robe. I gotta cross the shoulder relatively quick. I need a different brush to get past this arm. I like that brush. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, okay, wait with it. Send it right in. Oh God, wrong color. Let's just put burgundy on it. Maybe painting on a few hours of sleep isn't the best thing in the world, but it's okay. I actually really like that dusk red color for that underrobe. A little bit more obvious, that reddish tint. I like that. But I do feel like looking at this, it could go both ways, but I kind of like the idea of black for the boots. Color is his glove. Well, in the Clone Wars, they're both the same color, but in the movie, his robot glove is definitely black. So that doesn't help. No, I guess I guess his glove is the same color as his over robe. So I guess we're just going to go with black for both of these gloves as well. So let's just... Whoa, not that brush, this brush. Get these guys coated in some black as well. Tell you what, I hate painting hands. It's like, it doesn't really take any effort with speed paint. It just always kind of feels like a pain to get all the bits and pieces of the fingers covered. That. The thing about this other hand is at least there'll be silver on it to break it up. Oh. And you can see they almost killed this lightsaber. Had a little bit of like a stress in the base. Oh, gotta be somewhat careful of that. They did break one of the Ahsoka sabers. Thankfully, I could find the tiny little piece and put it back together, but yeah, it seems like they were having a time. Which, if anybody has any thoughts or recommendations or anything like that as far as Shatterpoint goes, I'd be curious to hear them, because I am not entirely sold on the game itself. I kind of followed it up to launch, but something about I think people are talking about like you just can't really kill anything. And then if you can't really kill anything, or if it's very hard to kill anything, why even bother trying? Why wouldn't you just wholly play for the objective and then you kind of just kill in between doing other things? Whereas it's, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not really in a big rush to paint this stuff and get it done, because I'm not like itching to play the game, if that makes sense. I just liked the models. But I think part of that is just because of being a little bit turned off from just various different things that I've read about the actual game. I tell you what, none of this is helping me decide what color these boots should be. Because the movie says they should be black. Clone Wars says they should be brown. And actually, looking at the Clone Wars picture, the boots are basically the same color as this red undersuit. And I don't really know if I care for that. I think it would look good black, and that might just be the safe bet. We do need to do the base of the belt think I'm gonna do it the same color as the, yeah, at least the base portion of the belt, the same dusk red, and then we'll do some different browns on some of these other parts. So I think we go black for the boots as well. No, get. Another reason I don't really like having these guys already attached to these bases, because these bases absolutely are easier to paint without a dude standing. But again, it was not having an easy time getting them off these dang bases, so really can't tell what I have and haven't painted up under this boot, but I think that's the whole boot. And not that anybody was asking, but I did finish Hell on Wheels, and I must say, what a disappointing ending to a show. Might not have been on the level of Game of Thrones, but I don't know. After everything that main character goes through, you kind of expect like a good, happy resolution, wrap it up. You know, he could finally rest, and he gets a proper ending, and instead it, I don't know. I didn't like any of the endings for any of the characters, and I'm not going to say any more than that, just in case for some reason people are watching that. But yeah, I was a little disappointed. Honestly, the whole last season as all I wasn't a huge fan of. I just enjoyed the vibes on the other team a bit more. Preference. A little bit of this and hit the bases of these belt edges. I guess to my benefit, all this messy little super glue blob that these people left me with, I just end up all the same color anyways. So helps me out. And I'm thinking, well, that could use a little bit of a brighter brown. I think the ruddy fur is a little red. Maybe we just go with that. And we just, although I think those need to be kind of coppery. We'll hit that with brown. We're just gonna hit everything else, and we'll just hit a little bit of silver afterwards. Mix. And I haven't. Object source lighting just scares me away every time. Because my plan was I was going to do it on all of the Shatterpoint models, and then I painted Venturous and just imagined a little bit of that red glow over that purple, and I was not sold. And I was already feeling a certain way about it, and I just couldn't bring myself to do that, because it seems like, historically speaking, I do not have a good track record with object source lighting. I'm kind of thinking the same thing here. This dude will probably look pretty good when I'm done with him. I really want to risk spewing blue all over his face and chest and stuff. I don't. That is not the most obvious brown. It almost blends into that red on the belt anyways, but that's okay. Not as aggressive. Yeah, the boots I like black. I'm glad I did them black. Now I probably would have said the same thing had I done them brown, but shut up. It's fine. Nobody needs to worry about it. What we are gonna do is take this Talos bronze speed paint. Just put a tiny little bit on those two little capsules on his belt. This brush has seen better days. Now, because those are so small, not really gonna see them. Add a little teeny tiny bit of flavor. And honestly, given the way that his face is, I think I just want to go straight speed paint on his face. Now, like the idea of warrior skin, which is on his little pouches. But man, using them on the orcs, it's like, it seemed real hit or miss whether I was getting like this kind of fleshy color or like a kind of a plain brown color. I guess I'll try this warrior skin, and worst case I end up having to base coat it anyways. Here goes nothing. Yeah, I don't know if, because again, it almost looks like, and this isn't like diluted at all, but that is a much lighter color. I don't get it. I don't know what the difference is. And it's not like this is just overcast from the zenithal either, because I intentionally will airbrush their faces more white just with the intention of doing that. Like that is a good kind of tan flesh tone. And I know that that's warrior, that warrior color, because I did it right above it earlier when I was testing stuff, because I was unsure if that was that color. Those, not the same. So I don't know what the difference is. So looks like we're gonna have to do a little bit of normal paint. Which, to be honest, I might just do a pass with this flesh tone for top of it, just to make life ever so slightly simpler. And I'm not getting out of the wet palette for this. Oh. Also, which, you know, I get it, it is what it is, but I went down to the local store just to see what kind of deals they had, and the only thing they really had going on that I cared about was their Legion stuff was 20% off, but their stuff's marked up enough that 20% off of their prices was still like even slightly more than like the Amazon prices. And then the Amazon stuff was also on its own Black Friday deal that was in most cases a better percentage off anyways. And there wasn't really anything I was chomping at the bit for Legion, so I didn't buy any of that, but I did replace my known oil that I spilled all of, and I will not cut off my little holder. And I finally found a thing of Agrax Earthshades. Try that as well, because I really like the known oil, especially over like a metallic silver. It is like night and day. It looks fantastic. But I am curious about Agrak's Earthshade. Now my subpar base highlighting skills can be utilized. I've tried this a handful of times. It just doesn't ever look natural. I need like somebody in person to make it make sense. Be like, yeah, put paint here and put paint there. See how that works? Yeah, that makes sense. Because what I see online doesn't make sense. And I either feel like the either looks like skeleton or the highlights aren't obvious at all. It's like those cheek, or like the jaw cheek kind of recess, just too extreme. I'm gonna have to do another highlight over that because I just want that dark, shitty warrior coat that I did to be really edge colored. And God, I hate it. I hate it so much. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. There's still hope. Much of it There is hope. Just looks so lifeless. I feel like this color, this model color flesh tone just doesn't have enough color to it. Looks a little better. That mouth ain't helping nobody, I'll tell you that much. I ain't gonna zoom in on it either. Bless. That's so bad. Just needs a little, some color in his life. He's so pale. Maybe just having pupils and stuff would help, but jeez. I just feel like he needs just like the tiniest little smidge of pink or something in the skin tone. I wonder if I could sneak some blood in here with some speed paint. I don't know. I think skin tones. Just the death of me. Or I just need to stay in my lane of Crusader skin. Definitely has a little bit more color to it. Don't. Okay, well, that is certainly not a good skin by any means. I feel like his lips need color. Maybe we can sneak a color that'll help his lifeless skin tone here. I feel like that's gonna look really pink. Or you're not gonna notice it's pink at all. Never. It's as good as it's gonna get right this second. I'll come back to it. I think we need to get a hair color. I feel like, oh no, because we might flood out an eye, to be honest, with the color. Honestly, I might just use that warrior skin for his hair, because that was damn near the right color. Because I don't want to use ruddy fur, might be a good color. Yeah, we'll go with a slightly thinned ruddy fur, why not? Go 2-to-1. Just thin it down a little teeny tiny bit. That is not a terrible hair color. I'm hoping maybe once I get some, cause like, I don't know, my face looks kinda okay. I'm hoping maybe once I get some eyes and those deep dark recesses on his face and paint his scar, that maybe it'll look a little more interesting. But that little tiny little bit of pink does actually read on his lips, so teeny tiny victory. While I wait for that hair to dry, hit his saber with some just plain old metallic. I'm not a fan of the broadsword silver by Speed Paint. It's too dark, so I don't really use it. But it has its place. It's just not what I'm looking for. That a little too much, but that's okay. We should not touch his head, huh? That is all the visible parts that matter. And I guess actually while I have this silver out, I might as well go ahead and hit some of these other spots on his belt and things. I am not gonna do the base, mainly because I don't really know how I want to do it yet. I need to decide if I want to texture paste or not, because if I am, I'm gonna need to do that, but I don't know yet. So I'm not gonna do the base. God, I cannot tell what I'm looking at here, so take a little bit of creative liberty. And just decide that those are full spots. Okay. I'm gonna do the scar after I do the eyes. I'm gonna try not to bother with any black before the white, which is I did for the first time on interest. Oh, that's gonna. But honestly, I struggle to paint small enough to get the white of the eye, much less like a black and then a slightly smaller white and then a black over that. That's just too many. That's too many steps for something to go wrong. It kind of worked on Ventress. I'm not gonna do it on. Something else I struggle with doing eyes is getting the paint thin enough that it will come off the brush and not dry in the time it takes me to get it there, but not so wet that it just wants to like fill the whole cavity of the eye. I don't see that being any better here, but block. I'll block y'all for a second, sorry. Okay. Kind of works. And all shaky hand coming in to fuck everything up. Fine. Okay, I can live with that, and I'll just clean up. Sorry. Clean up that bottom edge with a little teeny tiny. That is weird. I can't tell if my paint got wonky or if there's like leftover super glue from the problem children or what happened there, but that is a weird spot. Looks like there's a dot of something stuck on his face. So I don't know if that's from the previous owners. This hat. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to. Get on the bottom of that eye on the right. Got a little dot. Well, that's very weird. Yeah, I don't know. I think that is good enough for government work, so we're just gonna call it a day. That. Now, the fateful black dot that needs to be a dot, but not a dot, or it looks too much like a dot. probably all up in y'all's way. I apologize. That's just how it's got to be. No, don't look like that. Might be. Damn you, paint. From a distance, I think the shadows are in my favor, but his right eye is getting a little wonky. I think I gotta try to get at least a tiny little dot of white in there. Try to save his little tiny crooked eye. Not terrible, but oh well, that yikes. I should have laughed at. All right, take two. Right pupil. Oh, it's worse. Oh, that's so much worse. God dang it. Oh, it's all downhill. It's all downhill. I'm gonna let it sit for a second. Oh no. Okay, well. Lightsaber blade it is. Which, just because I have it, we're just gonna use it. I don't like this blue, it's too purple. So I don't even know what you just tried to say. Riveting? You mean riveting? I am a nerd. That is a true fact. And I'm a nerd that just messed up my eyeballs a little bit. guess technically what I'm doing is wet blending. Not super intentionally or cleanly. But is the desired that I want, so. Try to shape back down from this mess. God, I wish I would have just left it the first time. Especially because I need a darker color on the top side of the eye, which I don't have because I base coated it like a moron. You know what? I think that's a win. Hey, from like way over here, he looks pretty good. I think his eyes ended up close enough. Oh, look at that. That's right. So now I just need to Yeah, doesn't look great under a microscope. But I am pretty happy considering where that face started and where his eyes went. I'm good with that. The eyes do a lot of the blending work for me, that's for sure. Got that glue all over his neck. It's just awful. You just don't look at that. Need the scar. That's kind of like a reddish. Can I get away with just literally dropping some red into my skin tone from earlier? Okay, it needs to almost be a little more red than that. That'll probably get me close enough. Honestly, I would just use straight speed paint if I didn't assume that it would run. I think it would, so... Well, that looks a little silly. Wonder if I can pull really water down this one little droplet of paint and just try to almost glaze this tiny little bit of pigment over it. Just gonna cover it up. Whatever. That is good enough for me. And the only other thing to do is pick out some of the black on this hilt. I don't know if you guys can hear the cat. up under there. I feel like... Oh, well, just as I was thinking, talking about depth perception, and it just not tracking, and then couldn't even see what I was doing, and blob paint on there. Steel. A little bit of this to go back and touch that up even more, but I think for now is as good as it gets. Right up under the light here. Turn that off, focus. And I will probably I will probably known oil the hilt, just to add a little bit extra around the top, but I think that is it. I think the brown on the belt could have been done with a brighter brown. I could go back and edge highlight or base coat or something with one of these brown, just plain acrylics. Honestly, given his face where it started, I'm pretty happy with that. So now we've got our boys. I'm pretty happy with both of them. It is interesting, these are bigger than Legion, but not by like a ton. I mean, from top of the base to top of the base. So they're definitely bigger. But like the face on Anakin is smaller than the face on that trooper. So the proportions are different. It's a little interesting. But I'm pretty happy with that. I still need to decide if I want to do any OSL. If I do, I'll have to repaint the lightsaber because I'll do it with an airbrush because I'm lazy. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. And his face has some life to it, so what's up, Kraut? And honestly, again, it doesn't really come through super great under camera, but this might be the best face I've done on anything, to be fair. But we got our guys, we got our clones, we got Ventress. But I think that's it for painting things. Again, we may or may not give this away because I don't know if I care to use it. I'll feel that out through the month, to be honest. But that might be a Christmas thing because honestly, I don't know who's yearning to use the Queen version of Padme to, I don't know. Not really my flavor, but we'll feel that out through the month. So let me know on that, and we'll see where it goes. Thursday, again, I think we're doing Legion Special Operations. Because there's some stuff I want to try with that. I'm kind of wanting to play some more Crow again, so that'll probably be coming at some point. I really want the Beyond box. It's just never in stock. And next Monday, we will probably be painting something else for Shatterpoint. Because the only other things that I have to paint are 2 Sigmar models. Which I don't even know if I want to try to tackle doing that on stream. So those, I don't know yet. But I still have so many. Maybe we'll do a Night Sister or something next Monday for painting. That's what you care about. That will be next Monday. Tabletop Thursday, obviously. Videos Fridays. I think I've got a few lined up already. But that's it. All right. I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate your time. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, hit the sub button. Until next time. The power of the dark side.